In Part 1, we saw a glimpse of 1970s America: smaller portions, more movement, less sugar, more sleep. But that was just the beginning, because in the decades that followed, America industrialized. Hunger. This is the part most people don't talk about. After the late 1970s, food science exploded. Corporations learned how to engineer food to hit what scientists call the bliss point, the perfect, irresistible combination of salt, sugar, and fat that keeps you reaching for more. These foods weren't just tasty, they were optimized, engineered for overconsumption. As companies scaled up their production, these ultra-processed foods became significantly cheaper than fresh, whole foods. Grocery store aisles started growing larger and brighter through the 80s and 90s. Entire aisles filled with colorful boxes and bags, products that simply didn't exist in 1970. We weren't just buying food anymore. We were buying products designed in a lab. The goal was no longer just to feed people, but to create cravings that lasted. The very nature of what we put in our shopping carts was fundamentally altered. And this shift happened so gradually that most people barely noticed. Our kitchens and pantries were slowly being filled with hyperpalatable, nutrient-poor items that our grandparents wouldn't even recognize as food. This wasn't an accident. It was a business model. Then, in the 1990s, the mantra became bigger is better. It was the era of value. At fast food chains, customers could supersize their meals for just a few extra cents. More fries, more soda, a massive increase in calories for almost no extra cost. It seemed like a great deal, but it was a deal with hidden consequences. Portions doubled in some cases. But our stomachs didn't. Our habits, however, did adjust. That giant cup of soda became the new normal. The overflowing container of fries became the standard serving. We were being conditioned to expect more, to eat more, and to see these inflated portions as the default. Our perception of what a normal meal looked like was completely skewed. A burger from 1970 looks tiny compared to its 1995 counterpart. We were eating with our eyes and our wallets, not our bodies, and the food industry was more than happy to oblige, creating a new standard that our bodies would struggle to keep up with. This new food reality even infiltrated our schools. School lunches changed dramatically as budget pressures increased on school districts. Processed, prepackaged meals became the easier and cheaper option. The home-cooked style meals of the past were replaced by branded pizza, fries, and sugary dessert bars. Cafeterias began to look less like kitchens and more like convenience stores. Kids grew up on these convenience foods, and this became their baseline for what a meal should be. Habits formed early tend to stick for life. When an entire generation is raised to see processed food as the norm, it creates a long-term public health challenge. The school lunch line became the first training ground for a lifetime of consuming ultra-processed products, normalizing flavors and textures that are hard to find in nature. The 1990s didn't just sell us bigger meals. They sold us eating moments. The idea of 3 square meals a day began to fade, replaced by a constant hum of snacking. We saw snack packs, energy bars, and flavored coffee drinks appear everywhere in gas stations, office break rooms, and vending machines on every corner. Chains like Starbucks expanded rapidly, normalizing high-calorie drinks disguised as coffee. That daily latte, loaded with syrup and topped with whipped cream, became a ritual, but these liquid calories quietly entered our daily lives without a warning label, and liquid calories don't trigger feelings of fullness the same way solid food does. You could drink hundreds of calories and still feel hungry for a full meal just an hour later. This constant, almost unconscious consumption of calories between meals added up, day after day, contributing to a caloric surplus that was easy to ignore but impossible for our bodies to manage. The snacking economy was born, and it ensured we were never too far from our next caloric hit. At the same time all this was happening, our physical movement kept decreasing. The rise of technology created a culture of stillness in the 80s. It was arcade consoles and VCRs. Then came desktop computers and the early internet in the 90s. Entertainment and work both shifted indoors to a chair in front of a screen. More screen time, more desk jobs, more car dependency to get from one seated location to another. Kids who used to play outside until dark were now inside playing video games. By the early 2000s, entertainment shifted again to on-demand platforms like Netflix. The concept of binge-watching was born. No more waiting a week for the next episode. Now, you could sit for hours, consuming an entire season in one go, often with snacks in hand. The simple equation was unavoidable: calories up, movement down. That formula doesn't need a PhD to understand. Our environment was being re-engineered not just for overeating, but for undermoving. Finally, food marketing intensified, and its primary target became our most vulnerable population, children. The Saturday morning cartoon block of the 1990s was a masterclass in advertising. It was a barrage of bright colors, catchy jingles, and fun cartoon mascots selling sugary cereals and processed snacks. The goal was simple: create brand loyalty before adulthood, get them to ask for it by name in the grocery store. Toy incentives and fast food meals turned a quick bite into an exciting event. This wasn't just advertising, it was psychological conditioning. When a child's taste preferences are shaped this early by intense sweetness and artificial flavors, those preferences don't disappear easily. They carry those cravings with them into their teenage years and adulthood, often struggling to appreciate the subtle, natural flavors of whole foods. The food industry knew exactly what it was doing, creating lifelong customers, starting in childhood. So, obesity didn't spike because an entire country of people suddenly became lazy or lost their willpower. The system changed. Our entire environment was re-engineered. Food became a scientifically formulated product. Portions grew to comical sizes. Sugar hid in everything, from bread to salad dressing. Our daily movement disappeared into a sea of screens and car seats, and marketing became a relentless, powerful force aimed directly at our psychology. When the environment changes, human behavior follows. It's not just a matter of personal responsibility. It's a matter of design. And the hardest truth of all, most of us were never given the same environment our grandparents had. We were set up to struggle from the start. In Part 3, we'll ask the most important question: can we reverse it? Thanks for watching.